Hello and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and today we are going to be diving into all of the information about the Series 21 update for Forza Horizon 4, the features that'll be coming, the new cars that'll be coming, and everything that you guys have to be excited for. So let's go ahead and jump into it and figure it out. So let's go ahead and get the elephant in the room taken care of real quick. How do you unlock the Formula Drift Ferrari? Well, I'll tell you. It is going to be a seasonal championship reward in spring of Series 21, so unfortunately, we won't be able to get our hands on it until towards the end of that series. So with that being said, though, there's a lot more cars that we can get our hands on a lot sooner. For example, Matt Field's Formula Drift Corvette that is a reward for 50% seasonal completion of summer, which is going to be a really amazing addition to their Formula Drift car lineup. And I, for one, am just as excited to drive the Formula Drift C6 as I am to drive the Formula Drift 599. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've had quite a few replicas of the Formula Drift C6 in Horizon 4, really ever since the game came out, and I was honestly really disappointed that it didn't have that car from the beginning of the game, like from launch. I've always liked that car, I've always wanted to use that car, and I've actually gotten the chance to see that car in action before, so that in and of itself made me want to try it out in-game, but even though it's coming a little bit later, I'm really excited that they dropped that one as the summer reward, because I really think it's going to be one of the best summer rewards we've had in a long time. And really, this is one of the best series we've had in a long time in terms of cars. And of course, how could we have a video on this update without talking about the Mark III Supra? It's one of the biggest Toyota fan favorites in really Toyota's history, and there are some people out there that actually like the Mark III more than the Mark IV. They actually prefer the Mark III to the Mark IV. I, for one, prefer the Mark IV just a little bit more, but that's not to say that I don't like the Mark III. I'll definitely be building multiple Mark IIIs, I'll definitely be on the lookout for scooping up more Mark IIIs in the auction house, and I'll definitely have a variety of different builds of the Mark III. I'm definitely planning on having a drift one and a drag one right off the bat, and maybe even a circuit one, but with that being said, the Mark III Supra has never really been a grip car, circuit car. I mean, there have been grip versions of them, but they've really never been a platform that has been a go-to platform for grip racing. I mean, if you're looking for something in that same price range and you wanted to go grip racing, you would have been, better off with lots of other platforms that were available at the time. But in terms of drag racing and drifting, I think it'd be a really good platform to start with. Moving on into winter now, we have the new Mercedes E63 AMG, and I really like the E63 AMG, although I do feel like it is probably the most sort of pedestrian car in this update. The reason why I say I think it's the most pedestrian car in the update is because everything else is either a icon or a dedicated track car, dedicated race car. I mean, and when I say dedicated race car, I mean cars that are only really able to go on a track in real life, because I know there's going to be somebody in the comments that's going to be like, those are drift cars, not race cars, get it right, and I'm like, dude, when I say race car or dedicated race car, I mean something that wouldn't be legally allowed to go on the street, and so I kind of lump everything into that race car category. Now, if you wanted to get technical, yes, drift cars, not race cars, but either way, it means the same thing when we're talking about it in this context. Now, the next two cars I'm going to be talking about are accessible via a new, yet old, addition to Forza Horizon 4. Now, Horizon Promo is making a return. Now, if you remember Horizon Promo, basically what it was a gameplay dynamic where you had to take photos of certain cars and effectively take a photo of every car to add to a tally of photos taken in order to acquire different rewards, which is how you are going to gain access to the Ferrari Portofino and the Gunther Works Porsche 993. And just to clarify, that would be 100 cars for the Ferrari Portofino unlock and 200 cars for the Gunther Works Porsche unlock. Now, briefly, I would like to have a look at some gameplay that was actually shown on the recent Forza Monthly livestream of the Formula Drift Ferrari 599, and I wanted to kind of just take a minute to appreciate how gigantically huge the wing is. The wing is probably one of the biggest wings that we've ever seen in the Forza franchise. I mean, even like just Forza Horizon 4 by itself, I mean, that wing is absolutely gigantic, humongous in every every possible respect. They actually said on the Forza Monthly live stream that this car is about the same width as maybe your standard, I don't know, like 1500 size pickup truck. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, oh, so this is like a really big, really wide car, and if you also consider the fact that the wing is just as wide as the car, I mean, it really is a gigantic car. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is also one of the only cars, if not the only car that we've ever had in Horizon 4 to have a twin centrifugal supercharger system. Maybe one of the, I feel like there was maybe one of the Koenigsegg's that had something similar, but this thing is, at least in terms of drift cars, I know it's the only drift car that we have that has had a twin centrifugal supercharger setup, so that's a really cool little tidbit detail as well. Now, another car that they also showed some footage of was Matt Field's C6, and this thing, I really wanted to share the footage of this with you guys and just kind of give you my own personal opinions on this car, because I, for one, believe this is the coolest car in the update. Now, I know that there are going to be some people that are going to heavily disagree with me and say that it's either the Gunther Works Porsche or maybe the Formula Drift Ferrari 599, but this thing, you just gotta love it. I mean, it's a Formula D Corvette. You just gotta love it. And for me, I think seeing this car in person and seeing it do what it does live definitely contributed to how much I love this car, for sure, and how much I'm excited to use it in game. But overall, I think it's just going to be a very, very effective car, and I can't wait to actually get my hands on it and, you know, just see what it'll do. Maybe even make like a competitive drift adventure car out of it. Hopefully it's one of those cars that can actually be competitive. I know some of the FD cars are, some of the FD cars are not competitive in drift adventure, depending on what kind of build you're going for, whether it's a short track focused car, whether it's a long track focused car. But that's something we'll have to wait and see until the season changes to actually sort of get an idea about. Now, with all of that being said, let me know in the comment section below which one of these Formula D cars you're most excited about. Now, to wrap up, I genuinely believe that this is potentially the best update and most interesting update in terms of cars that we have seen for Forza Horizon 4 maybe since launch. I think there's not only the presence of Formula D cars, but there's also the presence of some really, really interesting rare cars, as well as some cult classics, like, for example, at this point, I would consider the Mark III Supra a cult classic. I mean, I know there's going to be people out there that are going to be like, that's not a cult classic at all, but really, when you think about it, it is, and it's really old enough at this point to be pretty much considered a cult classic. Now, the Gunther Works Porsche, I think, is probably one of the most interesting choices that they made for this whole pack. I think it's definitely got a sort of different vibe to it. I think it appeals to more the collectors, maybe some of the older players, and also some players that are just into really, really high-end exclusive cars that, you know, that basically people that appreciate some really high-end luxury stuff. And then I think the Formula D cars appeal to people like me that just like to send it. I mean, you know, that want super high horsepower, super capable, just cars that are genuinely fun to throw around. And I think that's what they really provided for us, because we've been asking for, by the way, nailed it right there. But no, we've been asking for more Formula D cars really ever since the launch of the game, and not only has the drift community asked for them, but I think the Horizon 4 community overall has been clamoring for more Formula D cars, and I think they couldn't have picked a better pair to implement in this update. Now, I'm sure that just as opinions go and just as opinions work, there's obviously going to be people that are not satisfied with the choice of those two cars, or people that would say, well, why did you add that when you could have added this, blah, 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 blah. But I think in terms of all of the updates that they've come out with, there's really nothing in this whole series that I don't like. There's really nothing in this series that I feel like was didn't deserve a spot. I feel like everything that was in this update deserved a spot, and everything that was in this update deserves to be seen on the streets of Horizon 4. And I, for one, am very excited for all of the videos and live streams to come from this series. So if you guys enjoyed this video, then let me know what car you're most excited about in the comments below, and let me know which one you are going to be spending the most time in. And also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on so you always stay up to date whenever we go live with a new video or whenever we live stream, which is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and we usually stream for about 3 hours, give or take, at a time. So, with all of that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.